If you are over the age of 60, I ask for your attention. A simple piece of fruit, something you have likely eaten your entire life, could be subtly elevating your risk of a stroke while you sleep. There are no symptoms and no warning. You go to bed feeling perfectly fine, only to wake up unable to speak, to stand, or even to move one side of your body. I understand this sounds alarming, but as a medical professional specializing in brain health, I have seen this tragedy unfold too many times. And the cause is not always smoking or junk food, but sometimes fruit. Yes, even a food that seems so healthy and innocent can become a risk as your body changes with age. After 60, your kidneys, liver, blood vessels, and brain no longer process sugar, potassium, or acid in the same way. The effects of medication, slower circulation, and nighttime dehydration can accumulate, turning a simple piece of fruit into a silent threat. That is why today, I want to walk you through 6 common fruits that may be doing more harm than good, especially if consumed at the wrong time or in the wrong combination. If you find this information valuable and wish to receive more practical, science-backed guidance for protecting your brain and heart, I encourage you to subscribe to Health 365. And if this topic resonates with you personally, please leave the word "yes" in the comments below. You may be surprised by which fruits made this list and the reasons why. Let us begin with one of the most common. Let's talk about something simple, yet potentially dangerous. The banana. Yes, those soft, sweet, familiar fruits we have all loved since childhood. They are easy to digest, full of nutrients, and feel like a perfectly safe snack. But after the age of 60, eating bananas, especially overripe ones, might not be as harmless as you believe. Here is why. As bananas ripen, their starches break down into sugar, which is why they taste sweeter. But as the taste becomes more pleasant, the impact on your body becomes riskier. An overripe banana has a very high glycemic index, causing your blood sugar to spike rapidly. For someone over 60, this can be a significant problem. As we age, our ability to manage potassium, blood sugar, and blood pressure naturally declines. The kidneys function more slowly, insulin sensitivity weakens, and our blood vessels become less flexible. This means that something as innocent as a mushy, speckled banana could sharply raise your blood sugar, increase your blood pressure, and even affect your heart rhythm due to its high potassium load. Consider the story of Margaret, a 76-year-old retired librarian from Illinois. She had a habit of eating 1 or 2 overripe bananas each morning, sometimes blending them into a smoothie. She believed it was a healthy start to her day. But one morning she felt dizzy after waking up, and her speech was slurred. Her husband rushed her to the emergency room, where doctors diagnosed her with a mild ischemic stroke. Her blood pressure had spiked overnight, and her potassium levels were high. They explained that while the bananas were not the sole cause, the combination of sugar, potassium, and her morning dehydration had created the perfect storm. Margaret made a small but significant change after that. She began eating smaller, greener bananas, and only after drinking water and having some protein first. Her energy improved, and her blood pressure stabilized. The lesson is this: bananas are not the enemy, but overripe bananas, especially in large amounts or on an empty stomach, can quietly push a vulnerable system toward a stroke. And they are not the only fruit with this hidden danger. Next, let's talk about grapes. Tiny, sweet, and refreshing, but they carry a surprisingly high sugar load that might be even riskier. Grapes appear so harmless, don't they? Served with lunch, tossed into salads, or offered as a light snack to share with grandchildren. But for someone over 60, grapes may not be as innocent as they seem. Grapes are essentially pure sugar in a small package. Even seedless varieties, especially the extra sweet types sold in most grocery stores, are packed with glucose and fructose. When you eat a handful, particularly on an empty stomach, that sugar floods directly into your bloodstream. As we get older, our insulin response slows and our blood vessels become more delicate. A sudden sugar spike does more than just provide a quick burst of energy. It stresses your brain and heart in ways you may not feel. Inside those fragile vessels, sugar causes microscopic inflammation and damage. The body attempts to repair this damage by forming tiny clots. At first, you won't notice them, but day after day, the risk accumulates, until one morning you might find you cannot keep your balance, or the right words won't come. This is exactly what happened to Mrs. Evelyn Morris, 79, a retired music teacher from Colorado. She was sharp, independent, and loved her routine, especially her mid-morning bowl of red grapes while she read. Some days, she would eat 2 cups without thinking. Then, one day, while writing a birthday card to her grandson, she noticed her hand trembling. A few minutes later, she couldn't remember how to spell congratulations. Her daughter rushed her to the hospital. It was a mini-stroke, a transient ischemic attack. Her blood sugar had spiked, and her lab results showed low-grade inflammation and pre-diabetic markers she never knew she had. She thought she was doing everything right, but even fruit, when consumed improperly, can quietly become dangerous. So here is what I now tell my patients. Never eat grapes on an empty stomach. Do not eat them by the bowlful. Instead, enjoy a small handful and always pair them with a few almonds or a slice of cheese to slow down the sugar absorption. And please avoid grapes at night. Your body requires stable blood flow while you sleep, not sugar spikes. If you are diabetic or on blood pressure medication, consult your doctor before making grapes a regular part of your diet. Even something so small can quietly become a significant risk, especially when you are not watching for it. Now, if you found that surprising, wait until we discuss pineapple. That sweet, tropical bite you enjoy after dinner might be quietly interfering with your brain while you sleep. Let me explain why. For older adults, especially those taking medication or dealing with circulatory issues, pineapple can create the perfect storm for stroke risk. Pineapple contains a natural enzyme called bromelain. In small amounts, it can aid in digestion. However, in larger amounts, or when combined with blood thinners or other medications that affect clotting, bromelain can actually disrupt your body's ability to clot properly. Put simply, it can thin your blood excessively, opening the door to something more serious: brain bleeds, a form of stroke that is much harder to recover from. But that's not the only danger. Pineapple is also very high in sugar, with a high glycemic index. This means it floods your bloodstream with sugar quickly, a risk that is magnified if you eat it after dinner, when your body is slowing down and no longer burning energy. That sugar lingers, circulates, and places stress on your blood vessels as you sleep. And then there's the acid. Pineapple is one of the most acidic fruits you can buy. For many older adults, this can silently trigger acid reflux at night, even without any burning pain. This reflux can cause tiny amounts of stomach acid to enter your airway while you sleep, lowering oxygen to your brain. This type of low oxygen stress has been directly linked to early morning strokes, which are often the most dangerous. Let me share the story of Mrs. Clara Hughes, 77, a retired choir director from North Carolina. She thought she was doing everything right. Instead of cake or cookies, she would enjoy a few slices of fresh pineapple after dinner each night. But one morning, she woke up dizzy and couldn't walk in a straight line. Her daughter noticed her speech was slurred. At the hospital, scans confirmed a small posterior stroke, one that affected her balance and memory. Her blood sugar was high, her platelet levels were off, and tests showed signs of reflux-induced oxygen drops during sleep. It wasn't one single cause. It was the combination of sugar, acid, and bromelain, all from the fruit she trusted. So here is my advice. Enjoy pineapple earlier in the day, and only in small portions. Never eat it on an empty stomach, and avoid combining it with blood-thinning medications unless approved by your doctor. Most importantly, never eat pineapple before bed. Your brain needs rest and steady oxygen, not metabolic surprises. Even something that tastes light and healthy can become a silent risk overnight. And if you think pineapple is risky, wait until you hear about watermelon. We all think of it as hydrating, but in some cases, it may be quietly dehydrating your brain. Yes, watermelon, the quintessential summer favorite. It's light, juicy, refreshing, and composed of 90% water. Most people assume it's the perfect way to stay hydrated. But for older adults, watermelon can be quietly misleading. Here is something most people don't realize. Watermelon acts as a natural diuretic. This means it makes you urinate more. That might sound harmless, but many seniors are already taking water pills or blood pressure medications that also remove fluid from the body. If you eat a large serving of watermelon in the evening, especially after taking your medication, you could be setting yourself up for overnight dehydration. This is when your body loses too much fluid while you sleep, and you don't even feel it happening. What does this mean for your body? When you are dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker. It flows more slowly, like syrup. This thickened blood increases the chance of a clot forming, especially in narrow, aging arteries. Combine that with lower blood pressure during sleep, and you have the perfect conditions for a silent stroke. Let me tell you about Mr. Howard Larkin, 82, a retired postal worker from Indiana. He was doing everything right, walking daily, avoiding sweets, and trying to stay healthy. One of his habits was to enjoy 2 or 3 large slices of watermelon after dinner to cool down. But one morning, he woke up dizzy. When he tried to stand, he collapsed. In the emergency room, his blood pressure was dangerously low, and his labs showed signs of dehydration and thickened blood. A scan confirmed a small ischemic stroke, likely caused by a clot that formed overnight when his blood flow had slowed too much. Howard had no idea that the watermelon, something he saw as healthy, was actually drawing essential fluids from his system rather than replenishing them. When combined with his diuretic medication, it tipped a delicate balance. So the takeaway is this: enjoy watermelon earlier in the day and in moderation. If you are on water pills, speak to your doctor before making it a regular habit. Pair it with electrolytes, like a pinch of salt or a sip of coconut water, to help your body retain hydration. And please, avoid eating it at night. If you notice things like a dry mouth, morning dizziness, or feeling off balance when you wake up, do not ignore those signs. They could be whispers from your body that something isn't right. Now, watermelon may be surprising, but what about oranges? A fruit long praised for its vitamin C and heart benefits. Could it really interact with your medications in a dangerous way? Let's take a closer look. A glass of orange juice with breakfast, a sliced orange on the table, these are symbols of health. But here is something most seniors were never told. Oranges, and especially orange juice, can quietly interfere with your medications. It's not just the sugar, though a single glass of orange juice can spike your blood sugar quickly. The real concern is a natural compound found in citrus fruits like oranges and grapefruit, called furanocoumarin. What this compound does is interfere with the enzymes in your liver, specifically the ones that process many common medications. When that happens, your body either holds on to too much of the drug or fails to process it at all. This means a blood pressure medication you have taken for years could suddenly become too strong, causing your blood pressure to drop dangerously low. A statin for cholesterol could build up, leading to muscle inflammation or brain fog. A blood thinner might stop working properly, leaving your blood unstable and raising your stroke risk without any warning. This is not a theory. I have seen it firsthand. Take Mr. Elbert Bryant, 79, a retired bus driver from Georgia. He had a morning ritual he loved: fresh squeezed orange juice with his breakfast, taken alongside his heart and cholesterol medications. He called it his sunshine in a glass. But over time, he started feeling dizzy, lightheaded when he stood up, and a little confused some mornings. One day, he collapsed while getting out of his recliner. Doctors discovered he had suffered a minor ischemic stroke, and his blood work showed dangerously elevated drug levels, even though he hadn't changed his doses. What had changed was his daily orange juice habit. The citrus compounds had slowed his liver's ability to break down his medications, and his system had quietly become overloaded. So, here is what I recommend to all my older patients. Limit or avoid orange juice if you take medications like statins, calcium channel blockers, or blood thinners. Do not take your pills with citrus. If you are unsure, ask your doctor. If you love citrus flavor, try a small splash of lemon or lime in water instead, as it has fewer interactions. At this stage in life, even something as simple as an orange can tip the balance inside your body without you ever realizing it. And if that made you rethink your morning routine, wait until you hear about mangoes, a sweet tropical treat that could be raising your blood sugar and slowing your liver all at once. Soft, juicy, and naturally sweet, it feels like a tropical reward, a fruit too delicious to be dangerous. But if you are over 60, especially if you are taking medications for blood pressure, heart rhythm, or cholesterol, mango might be doing more harm than good. Here is why. Mango is one of the highest sugar fruits on grocery store shelves. Just 1 cup of ripe mango contains nearly 45 grams of natural sugar. That's more than you'd find in a donut. Now, think about what that does to an aging body. Your insulin response is slower, and your blood vessels are more fragile. A sudden sugar spike creates inflammation inside your arteries, especially those leading to your brain. This inflammation can cause tiny cracks in the vessel walls. And what does your body do when there's a crack? It forms a blood clot to patch it up. In a younger body, this might not be a major issue. But in a senior with narrowed arteries, that clot can easily block blood flow to the brain, leading to a stroke. Mango also contains a compound called mangiferin. While it sounds harmless, Mangiferin can interfere with your liver's ability to process medications, particularly those that use the cytochrome P450 enzyme system. This includes many common heart, cholesterol, and blood pressure drugs. So, instead of your body safely clearing these medications, they build up in your system. You don't feel it at first, until you start to feel dizzy or weak, or worse, until your blood pressure crashes or your heart rhythm changes without warning. Let me share a final story. Mr. William Booker, 83, a retired firefighter from Nevada, decided to eat clean by replacing his afternoon cookies with dried mango slices. He was also on medication for atrial fibrillation and high blood pressure. After a few weeks, he began waking up lightheaded. One morning, he collapsed while getting out of bed. His wife noticed the left side of his face looked droopy. At the hospital, scans showed a mild ischemic stroke. Blood tests revealed that his medication levels were abnormally high, despite taking the correct dosage. The cause? His liver couldn't process the drugs properly, thanks to his daily mango habit. So, my advice to you is this. If you enjoy mango, eat only a few bites, and only during the day. Never eat mango before bed, especially not dried mango, which is even more concentrated. Always pair it with a protein or fat, like nuts or cheese, to slow the sugar absorption. And most importantly, if you are taking any prescriptions for your heart or blood pressure, please talk to your doctor first. Now that we have gone through these 6 surprising fruits, you might feel a little unsure about what is truly safe. That is completely okay. Recognizing these risks is the first step toward protecting your brain and heart for years to come. As we get older, even our healthiest habits need a second look. Fruits that once helped us may now quietly work against us, especially when mixed with medications or eaten at the wrong time. This is not about fear. It is about awareness. You don't have to give up fruit. You just have to consume it wisely. In smaller portions, earlier in the day, paired with protein or healthy fat, and always with your doctor's guidance. Your brain, your heart, and your independence are worth protecting. Now, if I told you that something as sweet and innocent as chocolate could quietly raise your risk of a life-threatening stroke, would you believe me? For seniors, stroke remains one of the leading causes of long-term disability. We often blame culprits like cigarettes, high blood pressure, or stress. But very few people ever look at the chocolate bars, cookies, or creamy desserts they enjoy every day. And that is where a hidden danger lies. I still remember Mrs. Linda, a 74-year-old grandmother who came to see me after a mild stroke. She laughed and said, "Doctor, all I did was spoil myself with my favorite sweets." But when we looked closer, we found that the kind of chocolate she ate every night was quietly hardening her arteries and pushing her blood pressure to the edge without her ever realizing it. Her story is not unique. So today, I want to uncover 7 common kinds of chocolate that may look delicious, but can silently increase your stroke risk. Before we begin, let me ask you, do you believe chocolate can be harmful to your brain health, or do you think it's just another food myth? If you suspect there's some truth, type the number 1. If you think it's impossible, type 0. We read and reply to every single comment because your voice matters here. And while you are here, please make sure to subscribe to Health 365 so you won't miss the important health insights that could protect you or someone you love. Milk chocolate feels like comfort. It melts smoothly, it brings back childhood memories, and it is often enjoyed as a little treat after dinner. But hidden behind that sweetness is a dangerous combination of sugar and milk fat that your body cannot simply brush off. When you eat milk chocolate, the high sugar content raises your blood glucose quickly. At the same time, the saturated fats from milk increase your LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol that sticks to artery walls. Research from the American Heart Association has shown that seniors whose diets are rich in added sugars and saturated fats have up to a 23% higher risk of stroke compared to those who limit them. What appears to be an innocent bar of chocolate can actually set off a harmful chain reaction inside your body. Imagine the silent buildup of sticky cholesterol, the steady rise of blood pressure, and the gradual stiffening of arteries until they become fragile. This was the unseen reality for Robert, a 60-year-old retired teacher from Ohio. His evening ritual was simple: a comfortable armchair, a glass of milk, and a few squares of his favorite milk chocolate. A harmless comfort, or so he thought. But year after year, his blood pressure quietly climbed. His doctor's warnings about borderline diabetes became more urgent. Then, one morning, he awoke to a chilling weakness down his left side. It was a minor stroke. The diagnosis left Robert stunned. He had always associated such dangers with fast food or smoking, never with the innocent candy he cherished. His recovery was successful, but the experience forced him to reevaluate every single habit. What can we learn from Robert's story? If chocolate is a pleasure you enjoy, consider switching from milk chocolate to a small piece of dark chocolate containing at least 70% cocoa. Dark chocolate is naturally lower in sugar and rich in flavonoids, which support the health of your blood vessels. Even so, moderation remains crucial. A single ounce is enough to satisfy a craving without burdening your arteries. And if you find milk chocolate concerning, wait until you hear what's hidden inside white chocolate. That revelation might surprise you even more. White chocolate presents itself with an air of elegance, smooth, creamy, and luxurious, a treat seemingly reserved for special moments. But here lies a surprising twist. It isn't truly chocolate at all. Lacking the cocoa solids found in its darker counterparts, it is completely devoid of the natural flavonoids that protect your blood vessels. What remains is a rich blend of cocoa butter, sugar, and milk fat. While this combination tastes indulgent, it can quietly thicken your blood and elevate triglycerides, the fats circulating in your bloodstream. Studies published in the journal Stroke have linked high triglyceride levels to a significantly greater risk of blood clots, the very trigger behind most ischemic strokes. Consider Margaret, a 60-year-old widow from Florida. She adored white chocolate truffles, often buying them as a small joy during her grocery trips. Margaret had no history of smoking, maintained a fairly active lifestyle, and believed her health risks were low. Yet her annual blood tests revealed alarmingly high triglyceride levels. She was baffled until her doctor connected the dots to her nightly habit of enjoying a few white chocolates. Within months, she began experiencing brief dizzy spells, which were identified as mini-strokes. It was a terrifying wake-up call. So, what is the wiser choice? If you desire a creamy dessert, try a bowl of Greek yogurt topped with fresh berries and a sprinkle of unsweetened cocoa powder. You'll get a similar sense of indulgence, but with the added benefits of protein, antioxidants, and far less sugar. And if you still crave something chocolatey, remember that dark chocolate offers protective compounds that white chocolate simply cannot provide. Now, if white chocolate raises a red flag, our next confection might sound an even louder alarm. Because when sugar, caramel, and artificial fats unite, the impact on your arteries can be as damaging as a daily cigarette. Chocolates filled with caramel or nougat, like Snickers, Milky Way, or Three Musketeers, can feel like the perfect pick-me-up when your energy wanes. They are chewy, sweet, and comforting. But what most people don't realize is that this blend of corn syrup, sugar, and hydrogenated fats creates a perfect storm of metabolic chaos inside the body. The high glycemic load from the corn syrup causes a rapid spike in blood sugar, while trans fats damage the delicate lining of your blood vessels and provoke inflammation. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, diets high in added sugars and trans fats are linked to significantly higher rates of insulin resistance, a condition that paves the way for type 2 diabetes and doubles the risk of stroke. Take Daniel, a 60-year-old retired bus driver from Michigan. He kept a stash of candy bars in his glove compartment, claiming they gave him a quick burst of energy on long routes. At first, it seemed like a harmless habit, just a treat to stay alert. But years of daily indulgence led to a widening waistline, persistent fatigue, and ultimately a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. One winter morning, he collapsed, his speech slurred and his arm weak. He had suffered a stroke, brought on by blood vessels that had been silently narrowing for years. Daniel later admitted, "I thought candy was for kids. I never imagined it could steal my health." What's a healthier alternative? If you need a quick snack, reach for a handful of unsalted nuts with a few raisins or apple slices. This provides steady energy and fiber to keep your blood sugar stable, without the artery-clogging fats. If the chocolate craving persists, a small piece of dark chocolate is a far better choice than a bar layered with caramel or nougat. And just when you think the danger is confined to chewy candy bars, consider the silky, cream-filled varieties. They may look exquisite, but their hidden risks are even more troubling. Cream-filled chocolates, whether a rich truffle or a soft fudge center, have an aura of luxury. They melt in your mouth with a sweetness that feels truly indulgent. But beneath that creamy texture lies a combination of heavy cream, condensed milk, and butter, ingredients laden with saturated fats. Consumed frequently, these fats can make your blood thicker, raise blood pressure, and accelerate the buildup of plaque inside your arteries. Once this plaque hardens, it can rupture and block blood flow to the brain. This is how many strokes begin, quietly, and then with sudden, devastating effect. Scientists at Harvard have discovered that diets high in saturated fats can increase the risk of cardiovascular events, including strokes, by up to 21% in older adults. This isn't just about numbers in a lab, it's about how blood moves, or struggles to move, through vessels that need to remain clear. Imagine trying to pump syrup through a narrow straw. That's what circulation begins to feel like when saturated fats dominate your diet. Cream-filled chocolates may appear harmless in a gift box, but for seniors, each bite adds an invisible strain on the system. So, what's a better choice? If you crave something creamy, swap the fudge or truffle for a chilled banana blended with a spoonful of natural peanut butter. It's smooth, sweet, and satisfying, but it delivers fiber and healthy fats that protect rather than harm. And if you still want chocolate, a small square of dark chocolate is far safer than a cream-filled confection. Before we continue, let me ask you, do you still view cream-filled chocolates as an innocent pleasure, or do you now see the hidden risk? Type 1 if you believe they can be harmful, or 0 if you remain unconvinced. And while you're here, Hit subscribe to Health 365 so you never miss the tips that can protect your heart and brain every single day. Now, if cream-filled chocolates are a cause for concern, wait until you hear what happens when cookies and candies are coated in chocolate. That combination creates an entirely new level of danger. Chocolate-covered cookies and candies, think of Kit Kat, Twix, or chocolate-coated Oreos, seem playful and benign, the kind of treat you might share on a movie night or find in an office candy bowl. But what looks like simple fun on the outside is a dangerous combination of refined flour, hydrogenated oils, and sugar on the inside. The refined flour rapidly breaks down into glucose, causing a blood sugar spike. Hydrogenated oils, often used to extend shelf life, are a source of trans fats that inflame and stiffen blood vessels. And the sugar content is so high that it contributes to abdominal fat and metabolic syndrome, a condition strongly linked to poor circulation and clot formation. According to the National Institutes of Health, metabolic syndrome doubles the risk of cardiovascular disease and stroke in older adults. What makes this combination so insidious is how it works on multiple fronts simultaneously. The blood sugar surges damage the inner lining of arteries, while excess belly fat releases inflammatory chemicals that further strain the heart and brain. Over time, the blood becomes thicker, less fluid, and far more prone to forming clots. Should one of those clots break free, it can travel to the brain and block a vessel, leading to a sudden, disabling stroke. The irony is that these snacks are often marketed as light or fun-sized, leading people to believe that small portions are harmless, when in reality, even modest but regular consumption takes its toll. So what's a better swap? Instead of a chocolate-coated cookie, try a square of dark chocolate alongside a handful of almonds or walnuts. You'll get the crunch and the sweetness, plus a boost of healthy fats that help your blood vessels relax rather than constrict. Another excellent option is to dip fresh strawberries in a thin layer of melted dark chocolate. It's sweet, satisfying, and packed with antioxidants. Up next, we'll examine a type of chocolate that doesn't even come in a bar, something many people sip before bed, unaware of the danger it might pose overnight. A warm cup of hot chocolate feels deeply comforting, especially on a cold night. Many view it as a harmless, even wholesome tradition. But the instant hot chocolate mixes that line supermarket shelves are often laden with sugar and powdered milk fats. When seniors consume these mixes before bed, their blood sugar rises sharply. As the body rests, that excess sugar thickens the blood. During sleep, when circulation naturally slows, this sticky, sluggish blood makes it easier for clots to form. Research from the American Stroke Association indicates that strokes occurring during the night or early morning are especially common in older adults, often triggered by precisely this kind of metabolic stress. Let me tell you about John, a 70-year-old retiree from Illinois. For years, he concluded his evenings with a steaming mug of instant hot chocolate, believing it helped him sleep. Over time, however, his doctor noted worsening cholesterol levels and higher blood pressure. One winter morning, John didn't wake up at his usual time. He had suffered a stroke in his sleep. Thankfully, he survived, but his family was shocked to learn that his comforting bedtime drink had quietly contributed to his health crisis. John later reflected, "I thought it was a comfort. I never dreamed it could put me in the hospital." What's a safer alternative? Try warming a glass of unsweetened almond milk with a teaspoon of pure cocoa powder and just a touch of honey. This version provides the soothing flavor without the overload of sugar and fat, while still delivering the natural antioxidants found in cocoa. So now, let me ask you, Is bedtime hot chocolate still a harmless treat in your eyes, or could it be a hidden risk? Type 1 if you believe it can be harmful, or 0 if you think it's safe. And remember to subscribe to Health 365 so you don't miss out on the everyday habits that could protect your brain and heart. Up next, we'll uncover the chilling truth about chocolate-covered ice cream, a dessert that combines cold temperatures with saturated fat in a way that can shock your blood vessels. Chocolate-covered ice cream bars like Magnum, Dove, or Klondike seem like the perfect summer indulgence. Cold, creamy, and sweet, they deliver a double hit of pleasure. But within that treat lies a dangerous combination: high-fat ice cream encased in a thick layer of sugary chocolate. The saturated fats in the ice cream raise LDL cholesterol, while the sugar overload spikes blood glucose. To make matters worse, the extreme cold causes blood vessels to constrict temporarily, reducing circulation just as the blood becomes heavier and thicker with fat and sugar. This 1-2 punch, vessel constriction combined with fatty, sugary blood, creates the perfect conditions for a clot or a sudden spasm in the brain's arteries. Researchers at the Cleveland Clinic have reported that cold, high-fat desserts can trigger vascular changes within minutes, especially in older adults with pre-existing risk factors. Consider Evelyn, a 60-year-old grandmother from California. On hot afternoons, she often rewarded herself with a chocolate-covered ice cream bar after gardening or playing with her grandchildren. But after indulging several times a week for a few months, she began experiencing sudden headaches and brief episodes of blurred vision. A medical exam revealed narrowed blood vessels in her brain, a condition aggravated by her diet. One night, she suffered a small stroke. Thankfully, she recovered, but Evelyn confessed she never suspected her favorite ice cream bars could be the culprit. What's a healthier choice? On warm days, try freezing slices of banana or grapes and dipping them lightly in melted dark chocolate. You'll enjoy that cold, sweet sensation with natural fiber and antioxidants without overwhelming your arteries. Even better, blend frozen berries with plain yogurt for a creamy, cooling dessert that actually supports your vascular health. Now that we've uncovered 7 kinds of chocolate that can silently increase stroke risk, it's time to conclude with the most important lesson: how your overall lifestyle choices matter more than any single snack. Today, we've explored 7 types of chocolate that, while delicious, can quietly elevate your risk of a stroke. From sugar-laden milk chocolate and flavonoid-stripped white chocolate to candy bars packed with caramel, nougat, or cream, each treat holds its own hidden trap. Even a nightly cup of hot chocolate or a cold ice cream bar can subtly alter your blood flow. But here is the good news: your health is not dictated by a single snack. It is shaped by your daily lifestyle. Choosing dark chocolate in moderation, incorporating more fruits, nuts, and whole foods, staying active, and monitoring your blood pressure regularly. These are the small, consistent steps that protect your brain and heart far more than any fleeting indulgence ever could. So, I would love to hear from you. Have you ever been surprised by how a seemingly harmless treat affected your health? Share your story in the comments below. We read every single one. Have you ever sat down with a bowl of dried fruit or sliced into a juicy melon, thinking you were doing something good for your body? Perhaps you felt a little proud for choosing fruit over cookies or chips. I understand that feeling. It seems like the right choice, especially when we're trying to take care of ourselves. But what if I told you that some of the fruits we reach for, the very ones we believe are safe, even healthy, might be quietly causing harm? It starts subtly, a fleeting dizzy spell after a snack. Maybe your heart skips a beat now and then, or you wake up feeling more tired than usual, no matter how much you've slept. It's easy to dismiss it as just part of getting older. But deep down, a quiet unease tells you something isn't quite right. I've spoken with so many thoughtful people who were stunned to learn that their fruit choices could be connected to their blood pressure, blood sugar, or even their stroke risk. No one had ever told them. No one warned them that sugar can hide behind a healthy label, or that certain fruits, especially dried ones, can interact poorly with medications. Today, we're going to discuss these quiet dangers with gentleness, clarity, and honesty. You won't find fear here, just truth, and simple choices you can start making today. Before we dive in, if you've ever reached for fruit thinking it was the superior choice, type 1 in the comments. If fruits have never fooled you, type 0. And be sure to hit subscribe to stay in the loop with Health 365. Now, let's take a closer look at that first innocent snack that might be quietly hardening your arteries. You know the feeling. Sprinkling a handful of raisins onto your morning oatmeal or into a salad, thinking, this adds a little natural sweetness, so it must be healthy. It's a moment many of us have shared. But here is something we often overlook. While raisins are tiny, they pack a powerful punch of sugar. When grapes are dehydrated to become raisins, the water vanishes, but the sugar becomes highly concentrated. Just a small handful can contain as much sugar as a candy bar, causing blood sugar to spike and placing strain on your blood vessels. This is especially risky for anyone with diabetes, pre-diabetes, or the slower metabolism that comes with age. Now, why does that matter for your brain? Because repeated blood sugar surges damage the delicate lining of your arteries. They become stiff and less flexible. The smooth flow of blood to your brain is gradually interrupted. Over time, this increases the risk of plaque buildup, making it harder for vital oxygen and nutrients to reach their destination. All from something as simple as raisins? It might sound unbelievable, but many doctors see this in their practice. Patients who are trying to make better choices, swapping cookies for trail mix, only to discover their healthy choice was sabotaging their efforts. One woman I spoke with had added raisins to her cereal every morning for years. After she switched them out for a few slices of fresh pear, her blood sugar levels improved within weeks. She was shocked, but mostly she was relieved. If you love that burst of sweetness in your breakfast or snack, try switching to a few slices of fresh apple or a handful of berries. They are lower in sugar, more hydrating, and far gentler on your blood vessels. Let's move gently to the next fruit, a summertime treat that could be sending mixed signals to your heart. There's something comforting about slicing into a ripe cantaloupe. The color is soft, the aroma is sweet, and on a warm day, it feels like the perfect healthy indulgence. But for some people, particularly those with kidney issues or who are taking certain medications, cantaloupe can quietly stir up trouble. Cantaloupe is rich in potassium, which is normally beneficial for muscle and heart function. But when your kidneys aren't operating at full capacity, or if you're on diuretics, your body may struggle to process excess potassium. That's when things can become risky. Too much potassium in the blood can trigger irregular heartbeats. It doesn't always feel dramatic. You might notice some lightheadedness, or perhaps a flutter in your chest. It's your heart's way of signaling that something is off balance. Then there's the sugar content. While cantaloupe may seem less sweet than other fruits, it actually has a fairly high glycemic index, meaning it can raise your blood sugar faster than you might expect. For older adults, that rapid spike can lead to an energy crash, brain fog, or a sudden dip in mood without you ever connecting it back to the fruit. One gentleman I worked with ate cantaloupe every night after dinner as his healthy dessert, but his blood sugar levels were constantly erratic. After switching to a small portion of berries, his levels stabilized, and he found he didn't miss the cantaloupe as much as he'd thought. So, if you enjoy cantaloupe, do so mindfully. A few small cubes occasionally are unlikely to cause harm, but large, regular portions, especially if your kidneys are compromised, can be more detrimental than beneficial. Now, let's look at a crunchy snack often found in trail mixes, and how it might be nudging your arteries toward danger. There's something oddly satisfying about the crunch of a banana chip. You reach into the bag thinking, "It's just fruit. This can't be bad for me." They appear golden, sweet, and wholesome. But the truth hiding behind that crunchy bite is far less innocent. Most commercially available banana chips aren't simply dried. They are deep-fried in oil and then coated in sugar. What you're really consuming is more akin to a sugary, greasy potato chip in disguise. The frying process introduces trans fats, the very kind that hardens your arteries like glue. As these fats accumulate, they impede blood flow, especially to sensitive areas like the brain. And then there's the sugar. Even if you aren't spooning it into your coffee, certain snacks, like banana chips, can deliver a surprising dose with every bite. It's a double blow. Fat and sugar teaming up to wear down your blood vessels and spike your blood sugar all at once. What's so deceptive is that it doesn't feel like junk food. There's no guilt in eating it. It feels natural, and that's what makes it so sneaky. I once worked with an older gentleman who kept a bowl of banana chips on his kitchen table. It was his healthy treat while watching television. Yet he couldn't understand why he felt so sluggish, dizzy, and plagued by frequent brain fog. Once he cut back on those chips, switching to sliced apple and a handful of almonds, his energy bounced right back. The lesson here isn't to give up snacking. It's that you deserve snacks that love your body back. That means reading the label, skipping the deep-fried, sweetened options, and choosing foods that truly nourish. If you crave that crunch, roasted nuts or crisp vegetables are a far better friend to your heart and your brain. Next, let's take a walk through a garden where a seemingly harmless fruit might be playing a confusing game with your medication. I'm talking about mulberries. For some, just saying the word brings back memories of childhood, picking them fresh from the tree, the deep purple juice staining your fingers. They seem like nature's candy, sweet, soft, and innocent. But even the most natural foods can have unexpected effects, especially as we get older. Here's the issue with mulberries. While praised for their antioxidants, they also come packed with natural sugars. When they're dried, those sugars become even more concentrated. At first, that might not sound so bad. But if you're taking medication to manage your blood sugar, as many older adults are, those dried mulberries can push your levels in the wrong direction, fast. And it's not always a one-way street. In some people, mulberries can cause blood sugar to drop too low, especially when combined with medication. That sudden crash can leave you lightheaded, confused, or worse. I once spoke with a woman who had been adding dried mulberries to her breakfast, thinking she was boosting her health. Instead, she started having episodes where her hands would shake and her mind felt foggy. It turned out the mulberries were clashing with her diabetes medication, creating a roller coaster of highs and lows that left her exhausted, day after day. The delicate blood vessels in your brain don't appreciate that kind of ride. They need steady, stable energy, not sharp drops and climbs. Those constant fluctuations put a strain on your circulation, weakening the vessel walls over time. And that's when the risk of stroke starts to creep in. So what can you do? If you love mulberries, fresh is best, and in small amounts. But if you're on medication for blood sugar, it's essential to talk to your doctor. It's far better to make an adjustment now than to be caught off guard later. Coming up next, let's explore a fruit you'll often find in granola and holiday treats, one that hides more added sugar than you'd ever expect. Dried cranberries. The name alone sounds festive, doesn't it? You see them tossed into granola, sprinkled over salads, or baked into holiday muffins. Their bright, ruby-red color makes them look so fresh and healthful. But beneath that vibrant glow lies a significant amount of added sugar that most people never notice. Cranberries, in their natural state, are actually quite tart. To make them more palatable, manufacturers coat them with sugar, sometimes more than double their own weight. The result? A small handful of dried cranberries can contain as much sugar as a piece of candy. If you're trying to care for your heart or keep your blood sugar steady, that's a very big deal. And here's where it gets even more complicated. That added sugar doesn't just cause a temporary spike. Over time, it can lead to chronic inflammation in your arteries. The walls of your blood vessels become stiff, less flexible, and more prone to plaque buildup. This makes it harder for your brain to get the oxygen-rich blood it needs to thrive. It doesn't happen overnight, but day after day, snack after snack, the damage accumulates. I remember a man in his 70s who added dried cranberries to his salad every single day, believing he was making a healthy choice. After all, it wasn't candy or soda, but he kept experiencing dizzy spells and a strange, persistent fatigue. When his doctor finally reviewed his diet, he pointed to the cranberries and gently explained how all that hidden sugar was working against him. The man was shocked and a little heartbroken, but once he replaced them with fresh blueberries, his energy improved and his blood pressure stabilized. The truth is, dried cranberries aren't evil, but they are tricky. If you enjoy them, look for versions with no added sugar. Better yet, reach for a few slices of orange or a handful of fresh grapes. Your brain and your blood vessels will thank you for it. Next, let's talk about a sweet, golden fruit that looks harmless in your pantry, but can quietly stiffen your arteries with every bite. Apricots. They're one of those fruits that seem almost too gentle to cause any harm. Soft, golden, and slightly tart, they feel like the kind of snack a caring grandparent would keep in a jar. In their fresh form, apricots can indeed be a healthy part of a balanced diet. But once they're dried, the story changes. When apricots are dried, their sugars don't just remain, they concentrate. A few pieces might feel light, but they deliver a heavy load of sugar to your system. And because they're small and easy to nibble, it's all too easy to eat more than you realize. That steady stream of sugar can quietly raise your blood glucose, stressing your pancreas and hardening your arteries over time. What many people don't know is that the natural sugar in dried apricots acts just like added sugar when it comes to how your blood vessels respond. Repeated sugar spikes cause the lining of your arteries to lose its flexibility. That's the first step toward atherosclerosis, a slow, silent narrowing of the vessels that feed your heart and your brain. I met a woman who kept dried apricots in her purse, thinking they were a smart, low-fat snack. She would pop a few every time she felt hungry, but over time, she started developing high blood pressure and felt drained throughout the day. After cutting back and switching to a fresh peach or a small apple, she began to feel more balanced and alert. It's not about cutting out dried fruit completely. It's about awareness. If you enjoy apricots, try slicing a fresh one instead of reaching for the dried version. Fresh fruits come with water and fiber, which help your body process the sugars more gently and naturally. Now let's cool things down with a green fruit often seen in fruit salads, one that might be quietly raising your blood pressure behind the scenes. Honeydew melon. Smooth on the outside, pale green and juicy on the inside, it's the kind of fruit that shows up at summer cookouts and brunch buffets. It feels light, refreshing, and undeniably healthy. But for some, especially those over 60, honeydew may be offering more sugar than your body can quietly handle. You see, honeydew is naturally high in sugar, even though it doesn't always taste intensely sweet. That's the sneaky part. You might think, this tastes mild, it can't be that sugary. But bite after bite, it sends a steady stream of glucose into your bloodstream. And because it's so hydrating, it's easy to eat more than you realize, especially on a warm day. So what happens then? Your blood sugar rises quickly. If your body can't keep up, perhaps due to insulin resistance or a slower metabolism that comes with age, your arteries feel the pressure. Over time, these spikes make your blood vessels less flexible. And when blood vessels lose their flexibility, it's harder for your heart to pump blood smoothly to your brain. That's when brain fog sets in. That's when your risk of stroke begins to climb. I knew a man who made a fruit smoothie every morning, always with a generous chunk of honeydew. He thought it was helping him stay light and energized. But he started noticing that he needed more naps, felt cloudy after breakfast, and sometimes had heart palpitations. It turned out his morning melon was giving him more sugar than he needed to start his day. If you love honeydew, you don't have to give it up completely. Just keep your portions small, about half a cup is plenty, and try pairing it with something that slows sugar absorption, like a handful of nuts. That way, you get the hydration and the taste, without the sugar overload. Let's finish with a fruit that's a beautiful blend of two favorites, but might be delivering more sweetness than your body bargained for. Pluots. It's a playful name for a beautiful fruit. Just looking at one, you might think, well, it's part plum, part apricot. How bad can it be? They're colorful, juicy, and appear at farmers' markets like little gems in the summer. But here's what most people don't realize. Pluots are one of the sweetest fruits around, and that sweetness comes with a price your blood vessels may not want to pay. Unlike their tartar plum ancestors, pluots have been specifically bred to be extra sugary. That means even a small piece delivers a fast, sharp hit of sugar to your bloodstream. If your body is already working hard to manage blood sugar, whether from diabetes, pre-diabetes, or just the natural changes that come with aging, pluots can tip the balance without warning. And the problem isn't just the amount of sugar, it's the speed. Your blood sugar spikes quickly, forcing your body to scramble. Your pancreas pumps out insulin. Your arteries tense up under the pressure. Over time, this repeated stress wears down the walls of your blood vessels, especially those that serve the brain. What feels like a simple summer snack can turn into a long-term burden on your circulation. An older gentleman I knew would slice up a pluot after dinner, thinking it was a healthier choice than pie. But he noticed he'd wake up during the night feeling restless, sometimes with a pounding heart. After a checkup, his doctor suggested he watch his evening fruit choices. He swapped the pluots for a few slices of kiwi, and finally started getting a full night's sleep again. If you enjoy pluots, treat them like a dessert, not a daily habit. A few slices once in a while, perhaps paired with some protein or healthy fat, can help soften the sugar's impact. This isn't about fear, it's about balance. Now that we've uncovered the hidden side of these fruits, let's bring it all together and talk about what it means for your health, your choices, and your future. As you've heard, some of the fruits that look the most innocent can quietly cause harm when we're not paying attention. It's not about blaming the fruit. It's about understanding how our bodies change with age, how our needs shift, and how a food that once worked for us might not work the same way anymore. But here's the good news. Small changes make a big difference. Swapping a dried fruit for something fresh, cutting back on the overly sweet options, and choosing fruits that are kinder to your blood vessels. These aren't sacrifices. They are gifts you give to your future self. You deserve to feel clear, steady, and strong. Your brain, your heart, and your entire body thrive when you give them the care that they need, especially in these years when you have earned the right to feel your best. So the next time you reach for a snack, just pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this serving my health or just my habit? Thank you for spending this time with me today. And wherever you are on your health journey, know this. You're not alone. There's always something you can do, and there's always time to begin. Take care of yourself. You matter more than you know, or